White House here is trying to break that and trying to say it decides who can cover the president. It decides who can ask questions of the president.
The man filled with jelly, you know who I'm talking about, Brian Stelter. Here he is. He's very upset that the White House is going to be changing the credentials and talking to other people because Jelly Guy wants more jelly.
The reality is that the daily grind of covering the White House is expensive and demanding, and it's been done by a handful of big news outlets like the Associated Press for decades and decades. So the White House here is trying to break that and trying to say it decides who can cover the president. It decides who can ask questions of the president. As you mentioned, the White House Correspondents Association response saying this tears at the independence of a free press in the United States. That is true. And ultimately, when press access suffers, when press freedom suffers, the public suffers. Maybe not right away, but down the line, we start to know less about the president, we start to know less about the administration, and ultimately everyone suffers.
All right, Jelly Guy, before I destroy your career with the clip in just a second, let me just point out a couple things there. First off, the White House is not deciding who gets to cover the White House. Anyone can cover the White House. You could try doing it yourself, fool. It's just about who is going to immediately get that first access there, but they're not stopping anyone from watching video, seeing what happens at the White House and covering the White House. Okay, that's number one. And also, you're very concerned that the White House is going to decide who asks questions. Do you remember this old man, Joe Biden, who was president for 4 years and he obviously had dementia or some other cognitive disability? And he would walk up there and he'd have little note cards and it would quite literally say, oh, talk to that person and here's the question in advance. And it would say what they were wearing and it would say whether they were a male or a female or a whole bunch of other stuff. You had no problem with that. I'm pretty sure they were doing a little prepackaged kayfabe right there and you didn't have a problem with that. But now, let's destroy Brian Stelter's quote-unquote career. Here is Stelter in 2021, and he had a slightly different position when it came to whether Fox should be removed from the White House press briefings.
There are, these questions about Fox's, as Fox radicalizes and as it becomes even more and more of a political tool. Zerwick, you wrote a column recently for The Sun about this, saying Fox should be viewed as a political tool. And that raises a question. Should it be a part of the White House press pool? Should it be afforded the privileges that come with news gathering? Even though they do have some news reporters at the White House, you're saying they're primarily a political tool. So should that be reassessed, Zerwick?
Listen, I really do. I think it's a discussion we need to have. Look, you're not supporting democracy.
Shocked and appalled. 3-4 years ago, let's get Fox out of there because they're a political tool. But when your political tools are a little on the back foot, right? When the guys who are pushing all the propaganda that's going your direction, you don't have a problem with that, Jelly Guy.